Have you ever wondered why Neanderthals disappeared? For a long time, it was believed that we, Homo sapiens, defeated them thanks to our intellect, that our ancestors were smarter, more inventive, and better adapted to life. But recent research shows that this is far from the truth. In fact, intelligence was not the decisive factor in their extinction. Let's start with the brain. Neanderthal skulls are often seen as a sign of primitiveness, massive brow ridges, elongated shape. But that doesn't mean their brains were inferior. A recent study compared MRI data from 100 Chinese individuals and 100 European Americans. The result? In 70% of brain regions, differences between modern human populations were greater than the differences between Neanderthals and early Homo sapiens. In other words, variation within our species is greater than variation between species. Even when small anatomical differences were found, for example in attention or control areas, their impact on intelligence was minimal. Essentially, if two individuals, a Neanderthal and a Cro-Magnon, met on a hunt, their skills and ingenuity would likely be roughly the same. So the idea that we won the intelligence race looks highly doubtful. Neanderthal culture and technology are also impressive. They successfully hunted large game, crafted complex tools, and knew how to make fire. But that's not all. Neanderthals could extract and use birch tar to attach flint points. In other words, they knew adhesive technology. They made needles, ropes from sinew, wore shell jewelry, and collected colored pigments like ochre. As far back as 250,000 to 200,000 years ago, they traveled tens of kilometers to collect ochre, similar to what their African contemporaries were doing. There are also striking examples of ritual behavior. Burials with offerings and flowers have been found in Shanidar and the Levant. In Israel, the Tin Shemet cave revealed Middle Paleolithic burials with extensive use of ochre, body paint. This indicates that Neanderthals had symbolic thinking and culture comparable to our ancestors. They could exchange knowledge, cooperate, and create new things alongside Homo sapiens. Genetics reveals yet another fascinating story. DNA shows that our species interbred. Today, all non-Africans carry 1 to 4% of Neanderthal DNA. These genes affect immunity, metabolism, and possibly even the nervous system. Moreover, the ancient versions of the FOP2 gene associated with language are the same in Neanderthals as in humans, meaning they likely had advanced communication skills. So, if intelligence and culture weren't the reasons for their disappearance, what was it? The answer lies in demographics and genetics. Mathematical models show that repeated waves of Homo sapiens migrating into Europe gradually diluted Neanderthal genes. Over 10 to 30,000 years, their genetic legacy could have almost completely vanished within our populations. The situation was worsened by a genetic bottleneck among late Neanderthals. Almost all European Neanderthals around 50 to 40,000 years ago descended from a single small clan. This drastically reduced genetic diversity, accelerated the accumulation of harmful mutations, and made populations extremely vulnerable to climate changes and diseases. In simple terms, there were few of them, and they were poorly equipped to survive ecological shocks. It's important to emphasize, Neanderthals didn't lose to us in mental capacity. They were simply outnumbered and genetically fragile. Add to that random climate crises, diseases, and possibly local natural disasters, and you have a recipe for their disappearance. To summarize, the hypotheses about Neanderthal extinction can be compared as follows. Competition and intelligence, minor role. Our brains were slightly larger, but differences were almost negligible, and culture was similar. Demography and assimilation, key factor. Mathematical models confirm that the numerical advantage of Homo sapiens and interbreeding gradually dissolved Neanderthal populations. Climate and disease likely secondary factors, increasing vulnerability. Catastrophes possible, but their impact is uncertain and localized.
Modern evidence shows we absorbed Neanderthals not through intelligence, but through numbers and time. Their genes live in us, and their culture and knowledge are part of our history. This complex puzzle changes our conventional view of our ancient relatives. They were almost as smart, creative, and social as we are. Next time someone says we survived thanks to our brains, remember, Neanderthals were just as intelligent. Their disappearance is a story of numbers, genes, and chance circumstances, not a tale of superior minds. And in that, perhaps, lies a special fascination. Human history is far more complex and intriguing than any simple legend.